I truly value everybody being here. So thank you. Nutritional Frontiers is happy to put this on. We're going to have a fun evening.
Yes, absolutely. So take a moment to meet the people that are at your table in the room. This is the community. This is the group of people that are going to help make change, spreading the word and getting the word out about how to treat yourselves naturally and heal naturally. So enjoy our dinner, and we'll see you guys in just a couple minutes.
Who's here for the first time? First time you know Nutritional Frontiers? All right, one thing you can say after tonight is you don't know who we are, okay?
We know the products, though.
You know, and what do you think of the products?
They're amazing.
I couldn't hear you.
Amazing!
All right, here we go. Amazing, thank you. We take a lot of pride in that because we're on a mission. Do you know what our mission is?
It's to make the world healthy.
And we do that one person at a time. So we like to have fun at our events. You know, the last 2 years we were kind of all struggling a lot, so we want to bring everyone together. I want you to know we are a faith-based, family-owned, Pittsburgh mission-driven company. I own the company, and my son, Zach, the biochemist, is actually at the home office running the show. He's probably still working, right?
Yep, I will be getting emails shortly.
You know, and we talk about on the mission, we take it seriously, because we really need to have what we call a movement. Dr. Bob always talked about having a movement, actually touching people you never actually meet. Right? And that's the power of these events, right? It's just that one other person that you can have an experience and help us succeed with our mission, right? So when we talk about that, we talk about MVVP, our values, right, which are trust. So you trusted somebody to come back who's here for a second time. All right, so we got some people, so we got a lot of new people and some people have been back before. So we take a lot of pride in our quality. So a lot of questions get about that. So if you look at quality, all the formulations are guaranteed to meet label claim and are tested through the GMPs. Okay, that's the facility. What's the difference is the ingredients. And we're going to show you that tonight. So there's three things. If you say, well, what's different about Nutritional Frontiers from all the other companies? And I worked at some of the biggest companies in the field. So what's the number one difference, you know?
The number one difference about Nutritional Frontiers is our people. Yeah.
So that's the people standing right here. Me and Christine run the company. My son Zach and Melinda are directors. You can call the office and get a hold of somebody. You can email. We can Zoom. You all have my business card there, right? Yeah. So I have my cell and also my email on there. So if you think of one of the companies in your office, not us, your second favorite, and ask yourself, when's the last time you had dinner with the owner of that company? Yeah. And do you even know who the owner of the company is? Because, well, Nestle's, yeah.
Most likely.
Good answer, because I'm in Pittsburgh, and Nestle bought Douglas and Garden of Life and World Enzyme and Pure Encapsulation, and so it goes on. Right. I worked at Metagenics with Dr. Bland, that's my mentor, and when they sold the first time in 07 is when I left, and we started Nutritional Frontiers. So the co-founder was Dr. Weiner, and we started where?
Where did you start it?
Yeah.
At the Weiner Wellness Center, now known as the World of Wellness in Pittsburgh, PA.
Wow.
And the whole concept behind starting the product line was that we felt the protocols were too wide with a lot of companies. Okay. You know, they want these exclusive ingredients, and you got to give them too many different products. So what we want to do is we want to make them more comprehensive, so better compliance, right? Because our ultimate purpose is what?
Our ultimate purpose
to improve patient outcomes
and increase practice profits.
So we're going to show you how to do that tonight. So number one difference is our people. What's the second difference?
Our formulations.
I'm going to show you examples, some of those, the key ingredients that we're using and the comprehensiveness. So what's your favorite formula?
My favorite formula? Wow, that's tough. I take so many different supplements now to nail it down to one. I probably would say my favorite, I'll go with my favorite shake. How about that? It's the, I love the Ultimate Shake, I do, but I do the Super Shake Vanilla with orange power fuel and pro oranges, okay? And that's called a creamsicle. And that is my secret sauce on the tennis court. Oh, look at that. We happen to have it right here. My lovely assistant, Vanna, has some products right here in case you're interested. The reason why I use those is because Power Fuel helps you recover on the tennis court, for me anyway, and the Pro Oranges is cellular energy. So it gets you going without you, feeling like all jittery. So that's probably one of my favorites.
In the formula, what do?
Look on the website.
So the great thing about the new website, during COVID, a lot of big companies where my friends work, they cut pay, they fired people, they took all the free money, they put it in their pocket, right? And they got a little sloppy and a little lazy, I think, complacent. So we did as a company, we rebranded. We built a new interactive website. This is high six figures. So every nickel we had, we put into the new website because we wanted a website that you can go to, your staff, your welcome, and your patients, and everyone can participate together on there and leverage all the education. And so that if they want to go on there and learn, they can. If they want to go on there and buy, what do they do?
If they want to go on and buy, or their patients?
Both.
Okay. Well, all you have to do is to let us know, or Justin know, that you'd like to open up a professional account. We will get you registered on the website, okay? And we'll get you registered through NetSuite. Once you're a client, we can sign you up through something called an affiliate program. So if you want to have products shipped directly to your patients, all they need to do is to use your practitioner ID that you get as soon as you have a professional account with us, and they will go on and they will see the retail price, and then once a week we pay you out through PayPal. So you get 35%, and all we have to do is send it right to them. So it makes it very, very easy. We have lots of practitioners who are semi-retired, who are on the golf course collecting PayPal paychecks on a weekly basis because they still keep their patients on and running. So we try and make it as seamless and very easy as possible for you.
Yeah, and a lot of feedback from our clients, your colleagues that are using the affiliate program, is that they like to focus on maybe 8 to 12 formulas in their business, right? Sometimes more, sometimes a little less, but the key things they're using, and then if they want to open up to maybe some of the other things like an immune booster or something that they don't do all the time, prostate support, they can always go to the website and get those. So we call it a hybrid model. You carry some things in the office that are really the things that you work with specifically, and then we can go into some of the other things. We have over 200 formulas, so it's a nice way.
And one of the neat things I think that we do every single year is we come out with new products on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, last year we had 13 new products released to the market, which for a company of our size is pretty impressive. A lot of the larger companies, you're lucky if they come out with 2 new things. How many have we already done this year? Phil, how many new products have we already launched?
6 new ones, and since COVID started, over 60 new formulations.
Yeah. So we keep trying to bring it. We keep trying to bring it all the time, all the time.
All right, so
all right.
you're going to get some food and then do the intros?
Yes, I would love it if maybe this table back here, if you guys would start us off and kick us off, and then we'll just kind of go. That way you're not all standing in line at the same time getting food.
There's a bottle on the table. What's this little bottle on the table?
So everybody has a little bottle of Probzyme on the table. Okay.
So what is Probzyme?
Where? Okay. Who? Okay. Say it again. Say it again.
Enzymes and probiotics, and it's like one of your first formulas.
It is the first formula. The first formula. Good job. That's pretty good. That is pretty good memory. So the reason why we have Probzyme on the table is it's a great digestive aid. It also helps with gluten digestion in case you're gluten sensitive. So feel free to have one. It'll help with whatever you're going to eat tonight. Okay, that's why we put it on the table.
Everybody's also got one of these in your bag here too, so.
Yeah. You got a goodie bag and you can take it with you. I actually keep that with me in my briefcase when I travel all the time. So it's really nice to have those travel sizes with you.
Get those travel sizes for your office.
If you would like travel sizes for your office, all you have to do is order a case of Probzyme, and we give you 12 of those travel size free, which you can use to sample, or you could use also to sell as a travel size if you so choose. We have people that do it both ways. Okay?
Those are on your table, and in addition, we have some of the formulations we're going to go over tonight up on the side, okay? So I know he's going to be speaking, but I want to introduce our whole team that's here tonight before we go into you guys. So, of course, Justin, everyone knows Justin, local.
Woohoo!
So as a company, we want to expand into the West Coast, and it's really challenging, and I got a call from our buddy Pat Brennan. And he says, you're going to love this guy. He's not only good looking, boss, but he's really sharp. Yeah. That's how Pat is. But we met Justin.
Imagine that.
Well, we met Justin right away. We knew he would be a perfect fit, right? And that's all we're looking to do is be aligned with the right types of people. We don't need to be the biggest company, just the best. And Justin's helped us, the gateway to the West, Justin Elliott.
Woo! Yeah, so Justin, you know, he doesn't like to be bored, so we gave him the 2 largest states in the country, Texas and California, just for fun.
You know, I always joke. I say, don't feel bad for me. I'm either hanging out somewhere in Austin or I'm at the beach in Southern California. It's like, life is terrible. Life is terrible.
Well, that's a really good thing. If you would like to hang out with us at the beach, we have a very cool event coming up, if you haven't heard about it. It is our professional training event. It is what we call our wellness weekend. It is the first weekend in April. All you got to do is fly across the Gulf. We are going to be in Clearwater Beach, Sand Key, Florida, for a wonderful event. Dr. Bob was with us last year. He can tell you all about it. But basically what we do is we start on a Friday. We have programming in the afternoon, book signing, incredible speakers. Do you want to talk about Dr. Bob? Speaking of Dr. Bob.
Dr. Bob, right? Where is he there? It looks like he's been kidnapped. Yeah.
It does look like he's been kidnapped. Do you want to play that now?
Wait a minute, you can tell
Yeah,
him
I
about
can
the
finish?
event.
Okay, all right, I'm making sure. Okay, so at the event, we usually have programming on Friday for an opening session. Then we have a beach party with a band on the beach so you can watch sunset on the white sand. It's really nice. Then on Saturday morning, we'll do some beach yoga, which is amazing. I know, Lise, you're so bummed you can't go now. I know. And then we'll roll into our programming. We'll have lunch outside so that you can get some fresh air and enjoy the sun. And then we'll finish our programming in the afternoon, give you a short break, and then we get to go on a pirate ship and see sunset from the pirate ship. We also do fun music trivia on the pirate ship, which got kind of dicey and exciting last year.
Guess who won, of course?
Of course, Jamie was on the winning team. And then on Sunday morning, we start out with a meditation and roll into brunch, and then you're free to just enjoy the day. And the reason why we do this as a wellness weekend is you guys care about patients so much that you're often the last people in line to care for themselves. So this is all about pouring back into you. It's also about networking with other incredible functional medicine, integrative medicine practitioners like yourself, and being in community around people that get it. And it's so nice to be surrounded. So we're really excited to bring that event to you. So what did Dr. Bob have to say?
Well, let's hear Dr. Bob straight off the pirate
On the
ship.
boat. I'm on a boat.
All right, happy, beautiful evening. Dr. Bob Rakowski, functional medicine specialist, Houston, Texas. For about 5 years now, I've been working with Nutritional Frontiers. Absolutely love them. Detox formulas, absolutely the best. I love their calm days. By the way, I also love their omega SPMs. If you're not familiar with those, might be the best advance in nutrition, who knows, of this entire century. What I love most about them, customer service, always putting their doctors first, helping us win through great products, great education, service second to none.
Yay, thanks, Dr. Bob.
So Dr. Bob's going to be, of course, the headline speaker tonight after dinner. And you guys have met the team here, but behind the scenes, who makes us look so good, the master Philly Phil on the board.
Woo-woo!
Phil's done an incredible job. He built not one, but 2 studios, right, in our home office. So we do a lot of video education that's available for you to share with your patients. We want you to help with the patient result. We want to support you with all the business support. In addition, tonight we have not only Dr. Bob, but his wife, Kelly Rakowski. Kelly?
Yay, Kelly!
And what's behind her tonight? Looks like she got some cool drinks.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have Kelly actually tell you. I know she doesn't always like to be front and center, but I'm going to make her take the mic for just a quick minute to tell us about Organo.
So the drinks that you see here are all infused with reishi mushroom. Some people don't like to drink coffee this late, so I have a list here that tells the caffeine amount in each one. But these, a lot of people actually can drink right before bed. You know, it doesn't leave you jittery or feel, a yucky feeling in your stomach from drinking coffee. So if you don't want one tonight, take a couple samples with you, try it in the morning. You can get a wholesale account if you want to. There's instructions on how to do that. It will be through World of Wellness. And we're just trying to, provide health in a way that people enjoy, drinking it because.
I'm a coffee drinker, so that's a great thing to know.
Right, and
I
coffee.
learned from Dr. Bobby. He says healthy coffee or
No coffee. And coffee drinkers don't forget to drink their coffee. Like, a coffee drinker does not leave the house and say, oh, I forgot my coffee.
That's true, you don't.
So
wake up.
that way they're getting the health in the habit.
There's also a business model involved. There's an extra. You can also do this as a business model with a revenue stream, right?
Okay.
Yep. So there's instructions if you're interested in trying it or you want to take some with you. So anytime during this evening, feel free to hit the coffee bar over here.
Okay, ladies.
And please, anybody that hasn't gotten dinner, please go get dinner. Oh, go get it. Go get it. Yeah, there's also tea and hot chocolate if you're not a coffee drinker over there that you can get as well. Yeah, okay, great. Yeah,
Take your time.
yeah,
We got
take your time.
Yeah. Got plenty of time.
So what we're going to do, we want to make sure that tonight you know who's in the room with
Another
you.
20 minutes.
Beyond our team, who Jamie has done a great job introducing, we want to know who's here so that you guys can network locally and support each other in your practices, shoot ideas with each other, come up with additional protocols, ways you're using the formulations, and ultimately sharing testimonials, because that's what it's all about, is having an impact. So I'm going to be coming around in between forkfuls in a few minutes, and I'm going to make sure that you know who's in the room. So we'll just take just a couple-minute break while you guys get food, and we'll be right back. So if you are interested in joining us for the Florida event, all of our events are listed on our website, and you can sign up through Eventbrite on our website, or you can speak to Justin directly.
No, normally these events we go to, like the A4M or IHS, AFMCP, cost thousands of dollars. So on the beach, this must be expensive, huh?
Nope, it's not really that expensive.
How much is it?
Well, it depends on whether you're a VIP client or not.
Uh-oh. What's a VIP? Yeah, we got to figure that out.
Yeah, so one of the things that's also on your table is a brochure on how to become a VIP with us. And if you are a VIP, we are picking up one night of the room and all of the programming costs for you. So if you're interested in learning about how to become a VIP, it's right here on your desk, on your tables. But essentially, it's about spending about $1,000 a month with us on a regular basis as a qualification, and then you get treated to special pricing, case specials. We provide a lot of gifts and swag and things like that, and there are a lot of perks and benefits to becoming a VIP with us.
All right, so Christine's going to go around and just introduce yourself, name, rank, serial number, that type of deal. And there are a lot of people here tonight, so we'll give everyone, under what? Under 20 minutes, yeah.
Hey, can you hear me? Is this thing working? Yeah, okay. All right. So my name is Dr. Ward Coleman. I've been doing this for about 35 years or so. I don't know how many of you know Dr. Stuart White in Houston, but we began together at Whole Health Associates a long time ago. Yeah, so I've been doing functional medicine for a few decades. I grew up in standard process and MediHerb and all the old school materials. So I don't know. We're running probably one of the biggest nutritional practices in the country historically. So I'm running that now. And so I talk to Stuart every night. He encouraged me to come here. So we're doing this, and we'll keep going. You know, I'm doing a lot of research and development, continuing to expand the work. My focus is on healing people entirely. So we're looking for the best protocols, best procedures, and best products. All right?
Awesome. And your favorite movie line?
Favorite movie line? I don't know. My favorite movie might be Dune. The next.
Oh, there's another one coming.
Hey, man, the slow hand like penetrates the shield. I'm all about a kind of gentleness that penetrates. We're trying to overcome chaos, disease, destruction, process, right? but we can't do it really aggressively. We have to do this gently and strategically. So I like that line from that movie Dune. The next one is coming out March 1st. I think we're going to be there. We might do an event at Rainbow Lodge. We might do something, but yeah. Yeah, maybe so.
Well,
all right.
welcome.
All right.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. I love it. My son is so geeked out. My older son is an RN, and he's getting his nurse practitioner. He'll graduate this summer. Yeah, I know, another one. We're in mental health, actually. I don't know why he chose that profession with me as his mother, who takes 7 flowers, which also treats schizophrenia, I'm told. Okay, but he is so excited about Dune, he's already asked me to babysit. All right, are you ready? You got to share who you are?
Yes.
Who you are? Yeah.
I'm Tony Miller. I'm a registered nurse. I'm not a doctor, nor have I played one on TV, and I don't have a practice.
That's okay. That's all right. Well, welcome. We're glad you're here. We're glad you decided to come check out our products. All right. I'm sneaking up behind you. Are you ready? Did you take a bite, or can I sneak in? Okay.
Hi, my name is Luz Pesantes, and I came because my friend from Dallas, he has his practice, and I do practice, but it's like my own home, and I do like more like the gut system. And I use other companies because every year I go to Las Vegas for the convention. And this is the first time, and I really like it because it works in the digestive system.
Oh, fantastic.
I don't have any phrase for the movie.
Oh, you don't have one? Okay, well, I'll use one for you. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Does anybody remember what movie that was from? What? Dirty Dancing. That's right. Okay, you're welcome.
Pat Swayze's a local boy too, right?
Oh, he's from, so big score. I just scored some more points. Hot diggity. All right, here we go.
I'm John Rinaldi. I'm a chiropractor going on almost, this year will be 40 years. And when we did functional medicine, it was just considered nutrition. So that's, we could either go to the choppa or I'll be back.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
That is a good choice. Randy Holmes, my practice is Holmes Chiropractic. Yeah, like John said, nutrition is what they used to call a lot of that. And so we're going to go with 30 years-ish. I have to go, it's so hard to narrow it down, but it just seems like Gregory Hines saying regular people suck is.
What was the movie?
Running Scared. I was wondering.
Ah, very nice, very nice. Okay.
It's a great movie.
Hi, I'm Sherry Cameron. I'm a nurse practitioner and a wellness coach. The coaching is where I do most of the functional type stuff, and I've been doing that for about 10 years. And my favorite movie line, hoo-wah.
Very nice. Is that Stripes?
Nope, Scent of a Woman.
Scent of a Woman.
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino. Oh, nice. Okay, got me. Okay. Lucy doesn't want to talk? Okay. This is Lucy, everybody. We just met Lucy today.
Say hi.
Hi, I'm Lucy, and I work for Miss Champion here. We do health and wellness, and I don't have a favorite movie.
You don't have a favorite movie?
You know, you could just tell me your favorite movie. You don't have to tell me the line. No More Locked Doors.
What was that from?
It's from this next Friday.
Oh, okay. That's a movie I don't know. You know it? Okay. All right. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm just checking my. Hi, my name is Cynthia Champion. I'm a nurse practitioner. I've been and have my own clinic for 2 years now. So we do a myriad of things. We do functional medicine, sexual health, weight loss, vitamin therapy, testosterone, thyroid optimization, and adrenal optimization. So I'm here to learn about all the products you guys have to offer.
Outstanding. Do you have a favorite movie?
No, I don't. I watch movies, but I don't remember them, and I don't watch a lot of TV.
Yeah, I don't either. That's why I was going for a favorite movie line. That was it. Okay.
Hi, I'm Bailey Gardner. I'm a registered dietitian. Just launched my own business, Bailey Gardner Wellness, and I'm focusing primarily.
Congratulations! Just launched my own business.
Thank you. Focusing on kiddos who have PANS or PANDAS, and also helping their moms because they're really living in a chronically stressed environment, and so typically they're the ones getting autoimmune conditions and all the other things that kind of go along with living in chronic stress. So trying to help the whole family. And I don't watch a lot of movies.
That's
I really don't. So I don't have a favorite line.
Well, what's your favorite band then?
Oh gosh. I mean, you really want to know?
Yes.
Well, there's a lot. So I don't know whether I should say Taylor Swift or Usher or what, but I mean.
Well, you got to see both this weekend.
I'm a teeny bopper here.
All right, I'm going to play Duck, Duck, Goose and skip Bob and Kelly because he's going to tell us all about himself and he can share his movie in a minute. All right, coming to you.
Darren Mitchell, Natural Health Houston, 26 years, something like that, 1997 graduate, kind of jack of all trades, master of none. But we've been doing functional medicine for about 20 years. We do a lot of chronic pain, a lot of mystery everythings. And so just want to say, everybody, thanks for having me. And does my inner child need a spanking?
Whoa, hey, what movie is that? Does anybody know?
Personal movie. Yeah, his movie.
His movie.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give you another one.
What was it from? What was it from?
I hit the 7-iron like John Daly hits his 3.
Happy Gilmore?
Close. Tin Cup.
Okay, what was the inner child smackdown? What was that from?
That's where he gets therapy, and he's a therapist, and he's like, Doc, does my inner child need a spanking?
Oh, my goodness gracious. All right. Okay. You're going to keep it a little more PG than this man over here?
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dr. King Mason. I'm an ND, alternative therapy, nutrition, functional medicine. Been doing it for 25 years. Been knowing that man for 20 years, 15 to 20 years right there. Ever since he was just a little, he was a kid, he was about 18 or 19, I guess. But anyway.
He still looks like a kid, doesn't he? All right.
Favorite movie, Make My Day.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
I'm Marion Mason, and I work for Dr. King Mason with Alternative Therapy Nutrition, and we love your products. I love the green. I'm going to try the green chocolate. Definitely. I'm going to.
Greens is
yes.
so good. That's my new
And
fave.
my favorite movie is Top Gun.
Oh, did you watch the new one? Did you like the new one? I know. They did a good job, didn't they? So cool. The need for speed. Okay, here we go.
Hi, I'm Brandy. I'm the office manager of Alternative Therapy Nutrition. Been there about 3 years. I've enjoyed it immensely, and I've learned a lot from Dr. Mason. He's one person that is constantly studying. All of his free time is going towards his patients, and I'm blessed that he's my boss.
Oh, that is so nice. This girl deserves a raise just for that, I think. All right, bring us home. Here we go. Oh, sorry, did I catch you as you were eating?
I'm okay.
Okay, here we go.
I'm Bill Nevin. I'm interested in studying homeopathy and naturopathy, and I'm also on behalf of my sister-in-law, Dr. Seema Nanda, who's a medical optometrist in town, and she's looking to incorporate functional medicine into her optometry practice.
Oh, fantastic.
And she's a professor at U of H.
Oh, wow,
So,
that's fantastic. Do you have a favorite movie? Because that's what we're all waiting on.
Atlas Shrugged. Who is John Galt?
Oh, nice, nice. That's a good reach. Okay, do you want me to give you a second? Okay, I'll go here. Lisa and your husband?
Yes. Hi, I'm Lisa Hill with Hill Family Wellness. We're in Friendswood, and it's because of an organo event that I'm here. And when y'all were testing out the creamer, do you remember?
Yes, that was
love
fun.
it, love it, love it. And so I started 3 years ago with a microcurrent neurofeedback device, and have now wrapped in more functional integrative medicine, and just am changing lives one at a time. So, thanks.
Awesome.
And this is my husband Morgan, and he has the line.
What's the line? What's the movie line?
Get busy living or get busy dying.
Okay.
Yeah.
From?
Shawshank.
Shawshank. That's a great movie. All right. Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
Hi, everybody. Michaela Resnick. I have Resnick Focus Center in Odessa, Texas. I'm a physical therapist and have a couple of other certifications. I've been doing functional medicine for about 5 years and neurofeedback for 2 years, thanks to Lisa. And also thanks to Lisa, I've brought Nutritional Frontiers into my practice. Love the chocolate proline greens. Do it. Do it. Yes, yes. And my line is, Mama always said life was like a box of chocolates.
I was waiting for one of those. Okay.
Well, I didn't know if I was going to speak. My name's Amelia Newman. I work with Lisa. I started out doing neurofeedback with her, and it's been tremendous for my son and I. And then we started using so many of the Nutritional Frontiers supplements. My countertop is crazy with supplements, but they're amazing. And I'm very excited to be here. And I like a lot of movies, but I just watched one recently, so I'm going to say, right, like he went to Harvard. And that's from Trading Places.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Okay. I'll come back to you real quick.
Oh, the best for last, right? No. Okay, so I'm part in a waking up journey. I don't know, COVID kind of woke me up, but everybody else has been asleep, and I've been trying to help people wake up as well, and I'm part of that journey. In September of last year, I attended a conference about functional medicine. I learned about intermittent fasting. I learned about how all the stuff the cabal is doing to us and poisoning us, and through the food and the atmosphere, and I changed myself, and I vowed to myself I'm never going to get sick again, and I haven't. I started the intermittent fasting. I've lost now 40 pounds.
Wow, that's amazing.
I am part of waking up other people. Whatever I read, I share. I share like crazy. Now I'm studying naturopathy because I'm tired of living in this lie, this Truman Show. But I don't have a quote from Truman Show.
Okay. That was nice. That was great. Well, thank you for sharing. So one of the things I want you guys to note is not only who's in the room, but I want you to recognize how many years people in this room have been practicing. And I want you to think about your butterfly effect, your magnifying effect, how many lives you've touched, how many people you've helped make healthy. It's through you. It's by you telling your friend about what you're doing, and we bring more people in because we want to make the world healthy. It's truly a mission, and it's a higher calling, and I am so honored to be in a room full of incredible doctors, healthcare professionals like yourselves. And I saw somebody else sneak in the room here, and she's trying to eat quietly over here. You were hoping I wouldn't notice you snuck in here, but you have this gorgeous purple jacket. I had to notice you.
Okay. I'm Vicki Mabio. I have an office in Kingwood, integrative medicine. I'm a nurse practitioner and naturopathic doctor specializing in hormones and being more proactive than reactive about my health. And so because of me, I do it for other people.
I love it. Well, welcome. It's nice to see you. All right. My partner in crime. Go for it.
The last few minutes before Dr. Bob takes us home and show you a couple of the ingredients that we're using that we find that are very innovative. So we focus, of course, on trust, innovation, integrity, and service. And I want to show you a couple of these. The old days of eating good and working out, it's not enough anymore, right? Between the stress, the nutritional deficiencies, right? The toxicity and the genetic predisposition, these SNPs that people are having, right? So we need more, we call these super biohacker ingredients that can circumvent. Probably the most common one we all know is active folate, right? That's just one of many. So if you look on the back of your catalogs, you'll see all the patent and research trademarked ingredients on the inner and back side. So for a company that, with our experience, we use over 50 of them, and I want to share with you a couple right now. The biggest one Dr. Bob mentioned are SPMs. Is everyone familiar with SPMs? Specializing pro-resolving mediators, studied at Harvard Medical School. There's over, if you go to PubMed.com.
Oh, Dr. Mason's favorite website.
Let's hear about it. PubMed?
Yes.
If you go on there and type in COVID and SPM, over 1,000 published studies on the benefits. Okay? So next time someone says there's no research, ask them if they're familiar with the 1,000 studies. Okay? Rather than you go look them all up, I'll give you the summary of them. And the stuff is really cool when you start looking at it. but high sensitivity C-reactive protein down 43%, one of the most important inflammatory and cardiovascular markers. Prostaglandin and PGD2 normalize in 4 weeks, right? So pro-inflammatory. And then look at this, fibrinogen rates. How many people are suffering with strokes, blood clots? Yes, sir.
What's the protocol? When are they?
That's only on 2, and it's only for about 4 to 8 weeks.
2
right?
once a day?
2 soft gels per day. We recommend 3 once or twice a day. Dr. Bob's going to go in some more his therapeutic dosing. Yeah. I always say 3 twice a day, because if they only do it once, you're still going to get 3 in them. We also have it now in a liquid form, and we are the first company in the world to bring in SPMs in a liquid. That way the dosing's easier. You can put it into a drink or a shake. So that was, and then the other thing was that the quality on it. Dr. Bob, can you briefly share your colleague up in South Dakota? Ask about how well it was muscle testing?
You know, energy testing has its limits, but there are some people that are pretty good at it, and he's compared it to every other brand, and Nutritional Frontiers SPM crushes the competition, as does almost everything they have. So whatever way you look at things, I do labs before and after, but you're going to find out if your patients want to get better fast, use these products. We'll teach you about the dosing schedule, and you'll get some epic changes.
Yeah, we always go with a network of people. One of the guys I had a pleasure working with is Todd Parker. He was a category manager for Dr. Bland and Dr. Bob and myself at Metagenics. So he's the guy that helps us with all of our omegas and our SPMs. On his medical board, and the guy that goes all the way back to, is Dr. Jorn Dyerberg. He was a cardiologist who brought fish oil to the market in 1971, over 500 published studies. So when you work with us, those are the type of people we're partnering with. This is made in a German pharmaceutical facility. So to get those concentrations where you need to have the expertise, the facilities, and all the people behind it, and that's who you're working with. Want to play a quick video? Here we go. Speaking of movies, Steven Spielberg here, look out. This is one of our VIPs in Pittsburgh, PA, up in Butler. So a guy came into your store with a cane, and in 3 months, he threw it away?
He threw the cane away, didn't he?
And what did you help him with?
SPM. So what's your favorite?
So those are the type of results we've seen. Myself personally, my neck is about 95%. I used it when I had COVID. I took a really high dosage, right? So all the research on autoimmune, I look as a short to mid-term formula. You may be able to transition people to omegas afterwards. Let me show you one more. You guys familiar with DMG? What does DMG stand for? Here we go. Easy one.
Damn mighty good.
Oh, here we go. Darn mighty good, but we get the point. Holy cow. We're going to already now.
Come on, you know.
Dimethylglycine, right? So there's 5 U.S. patents. One of the key ones I love is this one right here on the treatment of inflammatory disease, modulating the immune system for rheumatoid arthritis, which people are often told what? There's no cure. We'll start you with NSAIDs, and then when it gets really bad, we'll put you on sulfasalazine or methotrexate. So we're going to give you some samples going around. So let's take a quick peek at DMG. This is actually animal cells with cancer. You see the tumors, right? Black tumors. These are because there is a U.S. patent on DMG for melanoma in animals. You have to use our liquid because our chewable has xylitol. But we have many case studies of dogs showing dramatic improvement. Melanoma in animals is one of them, and here's a study on it. So they actually had the tumors. They injected them with DMG, and here they are after 8 weeks. Wow. Picture's worth a million words sometimes, right? This is what's in a lot of our formulas, including our number 1 or number 2 seller is GI Complete. It's also in our greens, right? So let me show you a quick video on the GI Complete.
I was diagnosed literally 1 year and 1 day ago with stage 4 inoperable chemo-resistant aggressive colon cancer. And in that year, I've been able to pivot to a diagnosis of NED within 9 months. Wow. But I was just sharing, as my celebratory trip, I went to Hawaii for 2 weeks and forgot some things. And one of the things I forgot was the GI Complete. And I could feel it towards the end of my trip, realizing, oh, there's something that's not right. And I kept thinking I honestly thought, do I have cancer again?
Oh, no.
And so I scheduled a PET scan, scheduled a ctDNA to just make sure everything was clear. But I flew back in. The day I flew back in, I did a double dose of the GI Complete. Everything was cleared up. Luckily, all the scans and everything showed I was still cancer-free, but it just goes to show how important that one medicine is to truly help you have the best experience possible. So thank you so much.
That's another example of the comprehensiveness. When I was doing patient consults when we first started Nutritional Frontiers over 15 years ago, you know, the GI protocol was about 5 or 6 products. So what does GI Complete do? It heals and seals the gut, right? So more comprehensive than a lot of the formulations that are out there. Plus, it comes in flavors and also comes in a capsule. So last thing, good.
No, I was just going to say, so I was going to share with you, since you're a big fan of the chocolate greens, okay? My new favorite shake is now called a chocolate martini. Okay, it is GI Complete Raspberry.
That's going to pick it up and take it.
Good, if you like. Okay, IgG Raspberry, our chocolate greens, and then you can throw in some chocolate protein, our super shake if you like. But that is really, really good. It's chocolate raspberry martini. It's really delicious. We also have the lemon lime version, which we call a margarita. So if you're more of a sweet person or a sour person, we always have really good tasting shakes to go along with that. And the reason we do that is so that people are compliant, right? It tastes good.
Yes.
And so you're helping your gut at the same time.
That's what it means to be.
Sweet and sour, you heard it. Sweet over here, you heard it, Doc, right?
Yes.
Question?
Yes.
Can you repeat the one on that chocolate?
Oh, absolutely.
Here we go.
Chocolate raspberry martini, sure. It is Proline Greens chocolate. Okay, our chocolate Proline Greens, which are delicious. Which, ladies, if you're having a chocolate
gonna stop here, let him talk.
It's a good hookup. Okay, and GI Complete Raspberry. Our IgG Raspberry, which IgG takes the bad bugs out of the gut. The GI Complete heals and seals the gut, so it's a great combination. IgG is a shorter-term product to use together. And then our Super Shake chocolate, if you want to put protein in it. It's absolutely fantastic.
Well, thanks so much, folks. If you need any the education, the slides, anything like that, any requests on quality control testing, we all have that. We're completely transparent. You have my cell number and my email. Feel free to contact me anytime. So I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. We're going to turn over to our headline featured speaker tonight, Dr. Bob Rakowski. When I first joined Metagenics and Dr. Bland, the dynamic duo, as they called them, was Dr. Jeff Bland and Dr. Bob. And they'd go around and do the seminar circuit and alternate the days. And I had the privilege of not only being a rep, but then a regional and then a district sales manager. And, you know, when Dr. Bob came into town, it was always sold out. You know, we couldn't fit any more people in the room. And the passion and enthusiasm that he had and all the clinical confidence, it became contagious. So let's give a nice warm welcome to Dr. Bob.
So quick question for everybody. How many nutrition company dinners have you gone to with an open bar? It's my first, right? So a little bit of alcohol can go a long way. Too much, no one should indulge in too much. But people that drink a little live longer than those that drink nothing, but people that drink the most die the earliest. We're going to talk about 7, they're calling them secrets, but I've called them the Magnificent 7 for over 30 years. You've got to eat right, drink right, think right, move right, sleep right, poop right, talk right every day. That'll be repeated throughout that. 7s are magic. We're mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, social, financial, impactful. When we look at the nutrition pyramid, there's 7 rungs to it, and for good reason. But Christine asked, favorite movie line, favorite movie. They're not the same. My favorite line is a man's got to know his limitations. And that was Dirty Harry. It might have been Magnum Force. And I think it's very, very important. We all have genes and we all have genetic vulnerability. If we treat our genes well, we can have a great life. Now, I think my parents learned that the hard way. When my dad turned 50, he was the oldest living male in the family tree. His grandfather died at 37 of a heart attack. His father died at 49 of a heart attack. My dad had quadruple bypass at 49. So 50 was kind of magic. And then that was his wake-up call that I should probably eat better, exercise more, quit smoking. Those are big animals. And I'm happy to say, oh, let me tell you about my mom, too, for just a moment. At 29, severe crippling bout of rheumatoid arthritis. They told her she'd be in a wheelchair by 40. Somehow that went into remission. 35 multiple sclerosis, diagnosed when she went blind in one eye. They said, yeah, you'll never see your 50th birthday. My parents will be 83 in May. They've been married 64 years, and they're still best friends.
Wonderful.
And I'm happy to say I'm still married to my best friend. We celebrate 36 years this year with 3 beautiful children and 5 granddaughters, actually 4 and a half. The other one will join us in May. So very powerful there. I won't go through the outline, but some of you knew me from way back when, the Jeff Bland days. Raise your hand if you knew me back then, right? I see some people we go back with. It was kind of fascinating. I want to tell that story. I was so excited to learn as much as I could. And Jeff Bland came to town. I showed up to the seminar. I was in the front row. And I had lots of questions, and you know, I mean, Jeff Bland does what he does. He went through so much science so fast. And I said, wow, Dr. Bland, this is amazing, but there's one problem. He says, what's the problem? I says, well, it needs to be a 2-day seminar. There's just way too much and not enough of the application. And he said, well, with my schedule, that's never going to happen. But within 3 years, we were the tag team that went all over the world, you know, doing about 25, 30 events a year. And by the way, I'll be at IFM. Jeff invited me to lecture with his group in May in Vegas, so we'll be there again. $1 trillion mistake, redirecting the misguided war on cancer. I have that on my YouTube channel. I recorded that because there's so much misinformation about cancer. And I'll show you some studies, or maybe not within this presentation, but Thomas Siegfried, who's been studying cancer for over 50 years, wrote the book, Cancer is a Metabolic Disease. They could actually do a nucleus swap. So they took a cancer cell and a healthy cell, and they flip-flopped the genetic material. They swapped the nucleuses. And if cancer were directed by the nucleus, then we would expect the new cell would have created cancerous offspring when it had the cancerous nucleus. But what happened was the healthy nucleus that went into the sick cell environment, the cancer cell body, produced cancer cells. Whereas when the sick nucleus went into the healthy cell body, it produced normal cells. So this was a 2015 study, peer-reviewed literature. You'd think that that would have turned all of medicine on its head, but it didn't happen. They completely ignored it, and they're staying on the same path. I really like what you said about waking up during COVID. Thank God a lot of the world has. Now I'll show you the stats. 117,000 medical doctors left medicine in 2021 because of what was being done with COVID, which was quite simply, no, you're not allowed to help your patients. We're going to give you a protocol that won't work. And 117,000 left, and over 330,000 medical practitioners. Next was nurse practitioners, followed by physician assistants. They all walked away. But this is a public service announcement. You can find it on YouTube, Dr._Bob_Rakowski. But very, very simply, and I have a slide on this later, but my whole cancer paradigm goes back over 35 years. I was at a conference, Dean Black, PhD researcher, walked into a room of 200 doctors, and here was his first question. How does a hurricane start? So I'm going to ask you that. How does a hurricane start?
A butterfly flaps its wings.
There you go. You're familiar with chaos theory and stuff like that, right? A butterfly flapping its wings halfway around the world, in theory, and mathematically proven could start a hurricane, right? But here's what Dean Black's answer. A hurricane starts when conditions are just right. He then asks, how does a tornado start? When conditions are right. How does cancer start? When conditions are right. Right, and what are those conditions? There's hundreds of thousands of peer-reviewed medical studies. Here's the perfect storm: low oxygen, low nutrients, high acid, chronic inflammation, immune suppression, secondary to chronic distress. And in that lecture, there was a really well-known oncologist. He was probably sitting right about here. And I called him out on the mic. I said, Dr. Jeff, let me ask you a question. Of the 350 approved chemotherapeutics for cancer, how many of them improve any of the conditions of the perfect storm of cancer? And you all know the answer. So all on audio, 520 doctors in unison said, none of them. How many of them make one or really all of the conditions of the perfect storm of cancer worse? And the answer was? All of them. And so every one of those therapies is a carcinogen. So we're barking up the wrong tree. With that said, appropriately applied, especially when you're protecting the patient, you can make good use of that. And I've had plenty of stage 4 cancer patients beat it and live to tell the story with good function, good body, good life to follow, and that's what we want for everybody. So I've seen every demographic. I've treated world champions from every major professional sport. I've treated Hall of Famers, and I've also seen the other end of the spectrum. So that foot was given a death sentence. That was going to be cut off 2 days from the day that picture was taken. That was day 1 I saw that patient. That was 2 weeks later. And here's the first tip. Bodies respond to frequency, duration, intensity, quality, and timing of stimuli. What do you think was causing that foot problem? That was diabetes. She was a type 1 diabetic, age 5, and doctors were content for her hemoglobin A1C to run 7.0. That was 40 years of a 7.0. You can't run 7.0. You're going to kill yourself. You know, your body will be progressively damaged, but notice what we were able to do in 2 weeks. You know, with different types of enzymes, with the SPMs, with Ganoderma lucidum, with a strict protocol to regulate the blood sugar, and then you look at it 17 months later. But here's the teaching point here. Whenever there's a problem with any organ system of the body, I don't care if it's your brain, I don't care if it's your heart, I don't care if it's your kidneys, I don't care if it's your liver, whatever, there are 3 distinct zones of cells. There are cells that are dead. Nothing we can do about that, right? Depends on your background, your faith. God can do whatever he wants, but we can't, right? But dead cells, those are gone as far as we can say. Then there are cells that are fine. There's nothing we need to do with those. But in between are cells that are functional but not functioning. And if you take non-functional cells and help them to function, what do you get back? Function and health. And that's what happened to that foot. So I tell you here, I didn't see any good cells. I saw a bunch of dead cells. Everything in between was functional but not functioning. And now look at the foot. Now, if that were a brain, here she might not remember her own name. She might not remember her spouse's names, her kids' names, the day of the week, where she lives. But here she just doesn't remember a few details from her childhood. And Dr. Dale Bredesen, I think it's now 9 years ago, we co-lectured at a conference, and he hadn't yet published his book, The End of Alzheimer's. But notice it says the first program to prevent and reverse cognitive decline. If this was an Alzheimer's brain, again, guess what? Now we just go from not knowing anything to maybe forgetting a few details of our childhood. I like these 4 books. They make very good points, and I'm going to go through some highlights of how they show lessons that we can learn and apply and help our patients live better longer. Anybody listen to Sadhguru, follow Sadhguru? I am Sadhguru, right? What a sage of wisdom. So people are talking to Sadhguru, and they said, Sadhguru, do you give blessings? He says, well, maybe.
Can you back up a slide long
Sure.
enough for us to see the...
Yeah. And by the way, you know, we're all about making the world better. I used to sell my slides. I spend 20 minutes on a slide. There's 120 something in there. Just email Nutrition Volunteers, and they can get you the slides. And my references are usually below. We want to make the whole world better. But we'll go through these books, and by the way, I was in the front row when Dan Buettner did his TED Talk. But back to Sadhguru for a moment. Someone said, Sadhguru, do you give blessings? He says, yeah, sometimes. Why? He said, I'd like you to bless me with a long life. And Sadhguru laughed as he laughs, and he says, ha, 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 ha. The only way to have a long life is to be miserable. Think about it. When you're really happy, when you're excited, when you're on purpose, time absolutely flies. So don't we want the short life because we've enjoyed it so much it was gone in a blink? So a means to the end, the biologic basis of aging and death. Here's what they said. We have one purpose, biologic purpose. That's to pass on our DNA. Now, has anybody seen a problem with that? Are you seeing that infertility is at ridiculously record numbers? Oxford says 1 in 11 women in the world are infertile. Male sperm count is down exponentially. We have infertility clinics popping up all over, and we've got about 1 in 3 cases. It's actually the man that's having the problem. It's poisoned with these estrogens and plastics, pesticides, and the new term is metalloestrogens. And the good news is we've got strategies to clear all those out. And over the next year or so, we're going to do probably monthly webinars where we go through these protocols. And maybe the first one will be SPMs, because I think that's the best advance in nutrition and since I've been doing nutrition. But we start looking at these countries around the world, we are not living longer, we are not living better, but they found a biologic regulator called sirtuins that seems to be associated with longevity. So a sirtuin is a silent mating type information regulator. Now think about that for a moment. If our ultimate goal is to pass on our DNA, well, what if we can't pass on our DNA? What if the opportunity's not there? Does the species die, or does the species find a way to hang out longer just in case the opportunity comes? So this was a very fascinating study. Calorie restriction is the #1 mechanism of longevity ever studied. Clyde McKay, Cornell University, 1931, won a Nobel Prize. He found out you cut the calories in half, the animals live twice as long. Now, calorie restriction works. If you make insulin signaling better, you double it again. Oddly enough, if you cut off their gonads, you double it again. Now, kind of hard to pass on your DNA if you have no gonads. But isn't that interesting? That kind of lies into the idea that these animals, they want to reproduce, so they find a way to stick around longer. They just lost the biologic capacity to do it. So there's Dan Buettner. He was the author of The Blue Zone. I found this pretty fascinating. More than 80% of people 65 to 100 are still having sex in the blue zones. Now, that's a pretty good sign that your body's pretty healthy. I really like Paul Clayton. He's got a really good website. He wrote the book, Health Defense. But basically, we are living not longer, nor healthier, and he shares the data. So if we go back to 1900, about 1 in 10 babies died at childbirth. And it was about 85 per 1,000, even though it says 85 per 100,000, or 8.5 per 1,000 moms would die during birth. But he says, if you get rid of all the childhood deaths and moms that died in childhood, that accounts for the complete 30-year increase in life expectancy. If you're not losing a baby who's a day old, guess what? You quickly bump up the average. And the data is indisputable. We are not living longer. We are not living better. Now, most of us that are naturally minded, here's a simple fact. Before penicillin was ever discovered, let's go back to 1900, 80% of deaths were from infectious disease. Notice we have a 75% reduction in that before penicillin, a 91% reduction before widespread vaccinations, and not a drop since. Now, interestingly enough, 1918, the world population was lower, but they estimate between 50 million and 100 million people died from that Spanish flu. Anybody know how many died from COVID? I don't want to minimize it. It was 6 million. And our world probably has 3x, 4x what it had in 1918. So this was nothing compared to that. But here's something else. I did 100 days of daily COVID updates, and then I got a call. And they said, Bob, you might want to be quiet about this. And I said, why? They said, you are jeopardizing your professional future and maybe your life. And this tone was so serious, I said, okay, I stop. I'm not going to do it anymore. Now, if we go back to that, I started looking at Italy, looked like they were having a lot of COVID deaths. And then Oxford went in and said, wait a minute, 9 of 10 people that they're calling COVID deaths in Italy were not COVID deaths. They died with COVID, not from COVID. Then they decided to audit the U.S. U.S. won't be beat. 15 of 16 COVID deaths were not COVID deaths. They died with COVID death, not from. So now, how many people did it kill? How many people did the protocol kill? How many people did remdesivir kill? Maybe the majority. Maybe the majority, unless you were 85 with multiple comorbidities. So we haven't seen a pandemic. We did see a plandemic, and how wonderful that Dr. Judy Mikovits is the keynote speaker for Nutritional Frontiers. So you look at what's going on here, we're going along, and then boom, a big drop-off because way too many people died. Does anybody know how much the life insurance companies U.S. paid out in 2021 in excess of what they were expecting to? Go look this number up, $100 billion. Because they had so many young people die suddenly. They're still looking into the cause of that. Gee, I wonder what could have caused that. But we have a strategy to help that, so that's the good news. We definitely have a strategy. So here's Paul Clayton Iguez. What did medicine do in the 20th century? Metastasis of the pharmaceutical industry, cancerous metastasis. Dan Buettner, Blue Zone, he said the average person leaves 12 good years on the table. I was at the front row of that TED Talk. It was a black tie event, it was a lot of fun, and it was a table set up like this. And so I'm sitting at this table and there's tuxedos and mink coats and a lot of money, and it was a fundraiser. And they said, well, Dr. Bob, what do you think of that? And I said, well, let me ask you a question. Now, he was putting all this wonderful stuff out about how people would live longer, and I asked him one question. I said, the Blue Zones, these people live to be 100. I asked the question, how long ago were they born? So that's not a rhetorical question. How long ago were they born?
100 years ago.
100 years ago. Yeah. How much of their diet was organic? All of it. How many herbicides, insecticides, fungicides were they exposed to? How many neurotoxins were they exposed to moments after birth?
0.
We're not comparing apples to apples, are we?
That's right.
It's a very different group.
It is.
So they came up with the Blue Zone 9. They got most of them. Somehow they didn't get poop right. We want that one. That's a big one.
That it is.
Eat right, drink right, think right, move right, sleep right, poop right, talk right every single day. Biggest longevity study, 85-year study out of Harvard. When you have a happy, healthy family, social group, relationships, that's what it's all about. So I have a lot of things that I enjoy doing. I train mixed martial arts, and my very first grandmaster, we were training in a private lesson one day, and he says, Bob, I want to ask you a question. I said, sure. He says, I'm going to give you 3 words and only 3 words to define success. Go. Well, I thought about that before. Since he used success, I wasn't going to reuse that, but I said health, happiness, prosperity. And he says, well, that's a pretty good answer. He says, do you want to know what my grandmasters taught me? I said, why not? He says, all right, you ready? Here's the 3 words for success. Relationships, relationship, and relationships. And I stepped back and I went, whoa, that's exactly right, isn't it? And keep in mind, what's the first thing Nutritional Frontier said? We want to build a relationship. We want to treat you like kings and queens. We want to give you good food, fine drink, and better than that, better product, better wisdom to make the world better, which is what I see in everybody in this beautiful room. So if we go back to 2002, I'm in Orlando, Florida. I'm a keynote speaker. So is Barry Sears. His book, The Zone, just came out. And he put up a copy of the USDA food pyramid. And it was the most powerful line, and I've got a slide on it later. But Barry put up the pyramid. He said, if ever there was a terrorist-like plot designed to destroy the health of the world, this would be it. And we all looked at it and we got it. 9 to 11 servings of genetically modified processed carbohydrates. There's just no way that that is the way to lead health. So I put love at the base of the pyramid, followed by purpose, discipline, the Magnificent 7, and then guess what? Every one of us has some unique needs. Dr. Baker Dr. Sidney Baker, who's the 3rd annual Linus Pauling Functional Medicine Award winner, he said, look, he says, everybody has a unique vulnerability, and if you push their button the wrong way, what might be a healthy choice for someone could be very destructive for another. He had what he called Dr. Baker's TAC rules, and you can take this one to the bank. He says, look, if you're sitting on 2 thumbtacks, first and foremost, no amount of medication is going to change that. And he said, if you're sitting on 2 thumbtacks, removing one will not necessarily make you feel 50% better. So think about that. We got people, they're eating wrong, drinking wrong, thinking wrong, moving wrong, sleeping wrong, pooping wrong, talking wrong, and we think we give them an extra 100 milligrams of vitamin C, they're going to be fine? We got to do a complete reboot. And we'll talk to you what I do with the reboot, and it's the fastest way to save a foot, to save a brain, to change, people that are really, really struggling. I like Peter Attia, Outlive, an interesting book. He's a big fan of exercise. He's brutally honest about, he had a horrible childhood. He was sexually abused, had to get to a lot of therapy to get through it, but he just never could understand why he was so angry about everything. The adverse childhood event study shows that people that have these bad traumas, they got to get into a loving community, they got to get through that, and if you don't, that's going to permeate every part of their being, and it did, even for a very successful, smart guy like him. But he was in his residency at Johns Hopkins. and he also had an engineering background, and he realized that people metabolize their drugs differently, so he was taking blood tests on people that were really struggling. He says, look, this guy needs more of that medication because he clears it twice as fast. And he went up to the primary, attending on the floor. He says, look, here's the blood work. Here's what we're trying to do. This guy's going to die because we're not giving him a therapeutic dose for him. Well, guess what? The doctor said, this is our protocol. You don't mess with it. Peter gave him the drug, saved his life, but got in big trouble. How dare you? You got out of bounds. So he completely stepped away from medicine. Now he's kind of back in terms of functional medicine. But here's what he says are the 4 pillars of good health. Exercises is number 1, nutrition, sleep, and emotional health. We certainly want to go with that. And he talks about this, which we could call the compression of morbidity. There's a guy named James Fries, 1980. He talked about what he called compressions of morbidity, and he said the way that most people decline, maybe starting at the age 30, they're nearly dead when they die. But they realized if they just took a little better care of themselves, you could have an 80-year-old as functional as a typical 45-year-old, and this guy is running marathons, climbing mountains, kayaking, making love to his wife, and then goes to sleep one night and just dies, while he was wonderfully healthy, happy, balanced. Wouldn't we all want to do that? That'd be a great way to go. So Mayo Clinic did a study. They said if you exercise 150 minutes a week, didn't have more than 20% body fat as a man or more than 30 as a woman, they only had you have to be in the top 40% of diet for America, which, by the way, I'm going to tell you, that's a terrible diet. I want you top 2%. And if you didn't smoke, well, you were going to live longer. But guess what percentage of our population filled in with those 4?
10%.
2.7%. Not many. And what if we threw in the magnificent 7? How many of our patients are eating right, drinking right, thinking right, moving right, sleeping right, pooping right, talking right, or even know how to tell you what those are? When it comes to poop right, I chuckle at this. I was giving a lecture at NASA. I'm in Clear Lake. I'm talking to a bunch of rocket scientists. And this rocket scientist looks at me and says, how do you poop right? And I just kind of looked at him. I said, you don't want a demonstration, do you? And by the way, there's a rule, right? If you want the money, you got to be funny. I could work on that. I'm not very funny. But that joke worked. And he says, no, just give me the understanding of it. Well, how about 1 to 2 really good form movements every single day? You eat, you poop. That's what babies do. We just suppress that reflex. It's called the gastrocolic reflex. And he says older medicine was basically intuitive, based on signs and symptoms. I think he's wrong. I believe it's evidence-biased medicine, not evidence-based. And then in the future, it's going to be precision. But let's look at statins for a moment. They took people that had heart attacks, so they were people that medicine would say, okay, use a statin, and they, one group said, I'm not taking the statin, the other group said, I did. Let's look at the summary. The median postponement of death for primary and secondary prevention trials were 3.2 and 4.1 days respectively. The people that took statins for 5 years lived 3 days longer, or 4 days longer. It cost them a doggone fortune. 84% of those at 22 months had fatigue. 64% had muscle pain. 12% had memory loss. 10% had peripheral neuropathy. Is this drug worth it? And by the way, LDL is almost worthless. So how about this British Medical Journal? Lack of an association or an inverse association between LDL and mortality in the elderly. I take offense to this. You know what they're called elderly? Over 60. That was elderly.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm starting to feel a little frail. When my ARP, I'm a little older than Kelly, not much. Wow. But when my AARP card came in the mail, she's just poking at me, Hey, now you get a senior discount. It's like, for crying out loud. But there's your numbers. 117,000 physicians left medicine, 333,000 healthcare workers. Where are these people going to go? The sick people. Right. They're going to come to us. They want a real solution, and the good news is that we absolutely have it. And by the way, that turnover, $1 billion a year is what they estimate it costs. Forget about how many people are dying, because guess who stayed? The people that didn't mind giving remdesivir, not giving hydroxychloroquine, not giving ivermectin, right? By the way, if I were to share that study, it was March of 2020 out of China. They took people with COVID, and they were bad COVID enough to go to the hospital. One group got Western medicine, the other group got Western medicine and traditional Chinese medicine. What do you think was the difference in survivability? Western medicine only versus that and just using herbs. It was 27x, not 27%, 27x increase in survivability. That was published March 2020. Of course, when I put it on Facebook, I ended up in jail, Facebook jail. Medical misinformation, even though it was peer-reviewed. Yeah. So the 4 horsemen, heart disease, dementia, cancer, diabetes are all there. 1989, the Archives of Internal Medicine, the article was called The Deadly Quartet. They said if you had a big belly, high blood fat, high blood sugar, high blood pressure, you were going to die early. Well, they weren't wrong, but none of those were causes. The actual causes were what I call the deadly quartet: stress, toxins, malnutrition, and physical inactivity. So this is cigarette smoking per capita, U.S. 1900 to 1998. You saw a fast rise. Then you saw a drop. This is cardiac death, 1900 to 2010. Now, let's put the first curves over one another, and what you'll find out is they match very, very nicely. Looks like I should have raised that up a little bit to match it more perfectly, but the decline in cigarette smoke is likely the primary cause that we have less heart disease. So Mark Houston, functional medicine cardiologist, he says even though there's over 1,000 biomarkers for cardiovascular disease, there are 3 and only 3 causes: inflammation, oxidation, and autoimmune. Address those and you're going to be fine. Epigenetic modifications, we're going to find out that we all were given genes, and if we take good care of them, we have a good outcome. If we don't, we have a bad outcome. This is the vast majority of what will determine our overall wellness, and that's what Dean Black said. How does a hurricane start? When conditions are just right, and those conditions: low oxygen, low nutrients, high acid, chronic inflammation, immune suppression, secondary to chronic distress. So here's your PubMed. The environment is 90 to 95% responsible for all cancers. It's only 5 to 10% genes. So you hear something like BRCA, and that's getting some press, right? How long has BRCA been around? Probably since we have been around as a species. Are we familiar with BRCA? BRCA1, BRCA2, the breast cancer genes. Angelina Jolie had double mastectomy, also had complete hysterectomy. Why? Because she was vulnerable. But those genes have been around for a long, long time. Breast cancer's gone through the roof. And why is that? Estrogens in plastics, estrogens in pesticides, estrogens injected into animals, and the new term is metalloestrogens. And if we were to have a longer conversation, here's what the medical literature says. The modern skeleton has 500 to 1,000 times the lead of pre-industrialized humans. So we're all loaded with these heavy metals. Now the great news is vitamin C, cilantro, garlic, chlorella, the super green products, proline greens are really good at chelating, phenomenal glutathione availability. Ganoderma lucidum, which is in the coffee and tea over there, is proven to increase metallothionein proteins 800% in just 2 weeks. So you can start clearing out those heavy metals. But there's the Thomas Siegfried study. There's your tumor cell. They took that nucleus and put it into a healthy cell, and what happened? It wasn't the nucleus, but the environment that determined the outcome. Healthy cells happened even with the cancer nucleus. Healthy nucleus in a sick environment, sick cells. Environment trumps genes. And by the way, environment trumps willpower. So you buy your willpower at the store, at least encourage your patients. The good news is they can shop online now. Don't bring any of that junk home, because if it's there, you're likely to eat it. So how about this stat? This is US 1850, 1860. Cancer was fatal, and they did autopsies on everybody in 61 of 10,000 deaths. What's that rate? 0.61%, less than 1%. What's it today? 25% and climbing. About half the states in the US now have cancer as a higher cause of death than cardiovascular. And here's Paul Clayton. He published this journal, Royal Society of Medicine. They looked at causes of death in England and Wales. They did autopsies on all these people, and 2% died of cancer, 6% died of cardiovascular. The year he published that study, which was 1997, so that's going back 26 years, that was 68%. Those numbers are probably even higher today. But here's what he said. If you got to be 5 years old in Victorian England, you were going to live to be 80, and you were going to have a much more productive life. And here's how it worked. At 79.9, you were still working 12 hours a day in the field. And then the first day of your final month, you'd sleep in a little more. And the next day you'd sleep in a little more, and the next day a little more, and your last day you just sleep in forever. You were still very productive throughout all of your days. When we look at neurodegeneration, 3 zones of cells, dead, functional but not functioning, and then perfectly fine cells, if we can bring back the brain like we did that foot, we can create the end of Alzheimer's. This is one of Dr. Bredesen's slides that he gave to me. It was one of his favorites. Those are the 36 known risk factors for Alzheimer's. He says, what does medicine do? It tries to find the biggest hole in the ceiling and patch it. Okay. That's it. What about the other 35? You're going to continue to have a problem. His big 3, toxins, inflammatory process, and a decline in nerve growth factors are what sets up Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. When it comes to diabetes, we've got a very sick, obese world, period, end of story. But notice what it says. Increased BMI is associated with altered methylation of specific genes. Methylation is the way that we mask our DNA, the way that we repair our DNA. We used to think that one gene would make one protein, and we thought, okay, we sequenced the genome, we're there. Every gene can make up to 30,000 variations of a protein. And what tells the gene to do it? It's going to be the epigenetic input, the lifestyle. And by the way, we are at 529 million diabetics today, expected to go to 1.3 billion by 2050. It's the most expensive problem in the sick care system. So what I like to do, I'll show you my nutrition pyramid. I've got another slide coming up on it later where I'll blow it up for you. But the base of my nutrition pyramid is going to be food. If God made it, it's okay. If man made it, stay away. I actually use that was from Jack LaLanne. Michael Pollan in Defense of Food said, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. I'm going to take that and a bunch of other Nobel Prize-winning research and give you my summary of nutrition. Eat real food, clean food, not too much, not too often, every color, every day, in a way that honors your physiology, your genetics, and your body goals, mostly plants. Now, I was on a podcast last week, and the guy said, mostly plants, what about all these carnivore people? Well, there's some justification for carnivore short stint, or for really sick people, even long term, but what happens with a carnivore diet? Most of the bad bugs in our gut are vegans. You eat meat, they starve to death, and it only takes a matter of days. So now they're doing huge studies on carnivore. I like it for a reset. Some people can reset in 3 days, some 7, some 10. If people are really stuck with insulin resistance, run with that. But my typical game plan, we're going to use the keto diet for our diabetic and diabetes patients. The ultimate shake, proline greens, glycolizes the micronutrients that really make it go. Remember, the diabetic is a nutrient wasting machine. That's why they're peeing so much. So we want to give them an extra multi, the probiotics, the D3K2 combo. Maybe we give them enzymes and probiotics and Ganoderma spores. But bottom line is, how long do they need to do that? Well, if you're Maureen and you're going to have your foot cut off, you know, you're going to take your SPMs every hour, you're going to take your spores every hour, you're going to take your glycolyze every hour, you're going to do 3 shakes a day and a very low glycemic index diet. And by the way, who is Maureen? That's the one who they're going to cut her foot off. And how did it do 2 weeks later? Her podiatrist ran into her in the grocery store when she was walking on her foot. And he looked at her and he says, what are you doing walking? She says, my foot completely healed. And he just turned around and walked away. Now, what did you do? It's like, you know, come on. Wouldn't you want to know? Wouldn't you want to know? Risk of type 2 diabetes and body mass index. Hey, as your BMI goes up, you're more likely to be obese. You know what? When you start looking at the Asian population, they can become diabetic between 22 and 20, BMI 22, 24. You look at these little Asians that are diabetic, they have a tendency to store a lot more visceral adipose tissue. So they're redefining fat in the Asians. Yeah?
Yeah, I remember years ago, some of the patients with diabetes, you go really intense with the shakes.
Yeah, of course.
Talk a little bit about how you do it now with the shake a day and ultimate shake and greens.
Well, sure, but I'm still going intense. So like Maureen was 10 days, all she was getting shakes, greens, and then non-starchy vegetables. And then we did the glycolyze every hour, we did the SPM every hour, we did the Ganodermospores every hour. In her case, I think we did 30,000 IU of D3, K2. She was very low. Understand that the vast majority of diabetics are profoundly low in vitamin D, and it's a major risk factor. And it's also critical for the immune system. Every cell type of the body has D receptors. We need it. The immune system needs it. The pancreas needs it, and certainly that dead and dying tissue needs it. But we dot every I, cross every T, and do you think that when she was going through it, I've got videos of people when I put them on this protocol, and I've got several people that we saved amputations. One guy was on a cardiac transplant list. His ejection fraction was 11%. 10 days later, it was 33%. We had acute kidney failure completely and totally resolved. We've had plenty of people with dementia get their memory back. Well, that's not for accolades. It's for showing, listen, if you give frequency, duration, intensity, quality, and timing of stimuli with high-quality nutrients in a complete program. By the way, I love that, so thank you for that. We want to give credit where it's due. God gave us all these tools. Nutrition Frontiers made them better. It's up to us to be the conduit to give them to the people, right? So, you know, they go through this protocol, and maybe 2-3 days in, they go, come on, this is too much. You want to keep that foot? Keep going. You know, that's the answer there. So when you start looking at Nutritional Frontiers, their thermogenesis is going to help raise the metabolic rate. It's going to raise the fat burning. The nutraglutide, if you've been looking at this Ozempic, which should probably be banned. You know, they have people losing lean tissue. If you look at the follow-up on Ozempic, they're saying, oh, this is the greatest weight loss thing ever. Some of the people never get their pleasure ability back. It actually blunts the pleasure centers, so they're not hungry, they don't enjoy food, and some people don't get it back. But when we use nutraglutide, the natural option, much, much better. Control is for craving control. The conjugated linoleic acid is what's called a peroxisome proliferated activated receptor binder, which facilitates the breakdown of long-chain fatty acids, which is our primary storage form. And then we've got our Great Whey and our Super Shake, all those for appetite control and accelerated fat loss. But let's not forget about detox. Yes. This was an article that was published 2 decades ago, Chemical Toxicity, a hypothesis to explain the global obesity epidemic, and the graphs look pretty similar, don't they? Yes. Right? No, that's actually diabetes, but the obesity graph looks pretty much the same. So here's the fact. All toxins inhibit mitochondrial function. Where does fat burning occur? Mitochondria. So when you're toxic, you burn less fat. Wouldn't it make sense that that would be a high-level intervention? We'd put these people on detox, and Jeff Bland, the founder of functional medicine, went so far as to say anybody who promotes fat loss without promoting detoxification should be considered guilty of malpractice. These people are dumping toxins in their system. They need the nutrients, they need the proteins, they need the glutathione, they need to have the right acid-alkaline balance, and then we get them to resolve fastest. I really like Dr. Tracy Straub, beautiful naturopath, great wisdom. She and Judy Mikovits form a great team. We're going to be in Florida in April. I'm going to encourage every one of you to be there. We're on the cusp of making powerful changes in the world for one reason. We're sharing truth. And you can't argue with truth. You can try, but you'll always lose. And that's what they're so good at sharing. So we used to talk about phase 1 of liver detoxification, like burning up garbage in the fireplace. Phase 2 is get smoke out of the chimney. Then they thought, well, we got the kidneys too, so maybe we need a phase 3. Oh, but what about the bowel? Then we need stage 4. Well, Nutritional Frontiers has complete line to help all of these things. We go with the Ultimate Shake, the Proline Greens, which I believe is their absolute best product, the Live Complete, that's got that patented research form of glutathione, which is more powerful than even giving straight glutathione, more powerful than giving N-acetylcysteine, more powerful than giving the combination of glutathione and N-acetylcysteine. What you're getting in there is the powerfulest way to get people through detox in the healthiest fashion. We got fiber for the bowel, and then you all got some of your wonderful enzymes and probiotics for dinner. David St. Clair, anybody listen to his stuff? He's a brainiac. He's a Harvard guy. He did a lot of resveratrol research. He thought resveratrol was going to be the greatest anti-aging compound ever, and he sold his company to the drug industry for, I think it was like $700 million. So he's doing okay, you know. But oddly enough, resveratrol never came to the forefront as being what they thought it would be. So now he's studying like NAD and NMM, and he takes about a dozen different supplements. But he says he's turned his biologic age from 53 to 31 just by taking good supplements that enhance sirtuins. He'll talk about the bowhead whale getting to be 200 years old. He says mammals can live that long. Oldest animal found was a clam, 507 years old. But here's what he says. He's got the information theory of aging, or maybe we should call it the misinformation theory of aging. When your body doesn't get the right information, because maybe it doesn't have the right materials to get the right signals, your chance of developing a lethal disease increases by 1,000x between 20 and 70. So aging does increase our probability of everything. And very simply, his information theory of aging is a loss of information in the epigenome, not in our genetics, but in the epigenome. So this is a picture of Leonard Bernstein. He was supposedly the greatest conductor of all time. That's what our epigenome is. It is the conductor. You, gene, you make that protein. I know you got 30,000 options, but make that one. That's what we need now. And you make that protein, and you make that protein, and you make that protein. How do you treat your epigenome right? You eat right, drink right, think right, move right, sleep right, poop right, talk right, every single day. And they are turning back biologic clocks. Now, St. Clair thinks that if we get another 10 years, most of us will live to be 150. Not yet on that bandwagon, but why not live better longer? Why not enjoy every day that we are here? So every gene can make 30,000 variations of a protein, but methylation is like a dimmer switch and an on-off switch, as is histone methylation. So there's so many different things you can do. We methylate 1 billion times a second. So that dimethylglycine, you got your 2 methyl donors there, very, very powerful. And it's scattered throughout the Nutritional Frontiers product line. That's what you want to know. It's so important that they said, well, let's put it in here, let's put it in there. And I'm not talking sprinkles, I'm talking therapeutic doses where your clients, patients, are going to get so much of what they need to regulate their epigenome. So every one of us, if we make better choices, will be our better self. If we make lesser choices, our lesser self. That's Gwyneth Paltrow as she is. She was wearing that suit in Shallow Hal. But haven't we all experienced that? When we make our right choices, when we get good sleep, when we prioritize our exercise, we show up as our best self. And it's a pretty quick downhill spiral, at least it is for me. I don't get off my routine too often because I pay too big a price. Looks like you do too, right? So you keep it tight. Why? Because it's just not worth it. You know, I used to kind of binge over the holidays with food, never drink, and then it was till March till I started feeling normal again. Well, why do that? Why not just feel good all of the time? There's our sirtuins. 7 of them are found, probably more will be found later. When we start talking about these polyphenols, or even the bioflavonoids, when you start looking at the plant kingdom, you know, there's 50,000 plus named plant nutrients. And by the way, there's also some anti-nutrients. One man's food's another man's poison. That's ancient wisdom. So you got to know what's right for you, but very, very simply, all these chemicals, I call that God's pharmacy, and when you get the right pharmacy for you, you're going to manifest the best health. In the blue zones, they talked about Hari Hachi Bu, and that means don't ever eat to excess. Walk away from the table when you're 80% full. Pretty good rules. Sometimes it's hard to do because the food is so good. Different ways to shock the system. Anybody study Wim Hof stuff? The Iceman? This guy swam for 2 hours in the Arctic Ocean wearing nothing but a Speedo. He climbed up Mount Everest shirtless. He ran the Antarctic Marathon with no shirt and a pair of shorts. He's proven that bodies can do things very different. Just a little aside on that. He was horrifically depressed. His wife died when he was young. He just had to get away. He went to Tibet. He went to the mountains. And while he was there, he found these monks doing what they called fire breathing. They would lie in the snowbank buck naked and melt the snow around them. And he thought, how's that possible? And he learned to do that. So he doesn't even feel the cold. He didn't drop his core temperature after being in the Arctic Ocean 2 hours. And what he's saying is he's trained thousands of people to do that. Might be worth trying. Might be worth trying. So our epigenetic modulation, eat right, drink right, think right, move right, sleep right, poop right, talk right, that's what I call. You want me to back it up?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah? And there's the picture that I like better, right? I tend to be more of a picture person, but those are the Magnificent Seven. So, Global Nutrition Report comes out every decade. What do you think was the #1 cause of death in 2020?
Life, birth.
Malnutrition. I can't believe I didn't put that slide in there. But here's what they said. #1 cause of death, many decades running, malnutrition. Now, 4 or 5 decades ago, malnutrition was kids in the world didn't get enough food. Well, now they have enough food, there's just nothing in the food. They call it empty calories. So there's overconsumption under nutrition. If you don't get what you need from your food, you keep eating. You know, my body's not satisfied. And that's why supplementation is so critical. But how did we get into this problem? It's simple math. We tried to take a shortcut. I'm not into shortcuts, I'm into smart cuts. A smart cut is no one suffers, and we might even call that a biohack. And we got lots of biohacks that we'll share. But it takes 30 elements to make healthy plants, animals, and humans. But for every 30 they pulled out, they only put 3 back in. NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And as that went up and up and up, our soils became progressively depleted. And CIA.gov says that this rapid depletion of non-renewable mineral resources is creating a global problem. So malnutrition will continue to kill people until we get it right. So advances in therapy, here was a journal. They took age-matched, health-matched people, 25 to 30 years old, and they said, all right, we're going to pull out your tissues and we're going to see what are the nutrient reserves. One group got a macronutrient, all-organic diet. The other group got that same diet, good diet, and supplementation. It was either 60 or 90 days later, they went back in and biopsied the tissue, and the people that got the great diet, no improvement in their nutrient status. The supplemented group, big improvement in their nutrient status. So this was the conclusion from the article: food is too weak to replete depleted cells and bodies. Therefore, supplementation is advisable for everyone. So whatever type of practitioner you are, if your patients are going to improve, they're going to need supplementation. So why not go with the best? Why not go with things that people enjoy taking? And that's the whole idea behind the Shake a Day, the protein greens, the wonderful chewables. It just, delivery system matters. So there's Barry Sears. If ever there was a terrorist-like plot designed to destroy the health of the world, this would be it. And most powerful statement I've ever heard from the podium. If you ask me my favorite quote from the podium, that would have been it. A movie line, a man's got to know his limitations. From the podium, yeah. What we're being told by our government is destroying us, not helping us. So there's the food pyramid. Oh, we'll expand it now. And what I did is I just pulled that back. Real food, clean food, not too much, not too often, every color, every day, in a way that honors your physiology, your genetics, your body goals, mostly plants. Superfoods, you get that in protein greens. #1 superfood on the planet, Ganoderma lucidum, also known as Ling Chi. We have it in coffee and tea and capsules. That's a partnership. I've invested in the world's top Ganoderma company about 12 years ago. And Jamie said, we're going to partner with you. Our clients need this. We have practitioners where their patients are drinking coffee and tea. Why not make it healthy coffee and tea? Why not? Right? And for some people, it might be the healthiest thing they do, and it gives us an opportunity to treat people when they're not with us. Then we got our functional foods or even medical foods, the multivitamin, multimineral, the Resolve in form of omega-3 and additional omega-3s, probiotics, D3, K2 at the top. And there's the pyramid with all of Nutritional Frontiers products. And what I like to do is just circle them. What diet do I want? Okay, they got blood sugar problems. Let's go keto. What superfood do I want? Proline greens and Ganoderma spores. What's my shake? The ultimate shake. And keep in mind, these are things we can add for the gut, for inflammatory process, things that for blood sugar regulation. Then we get our good multi, our probiotics, our omega-3s, and then the D3, K2. When it comes to drink right, we start out nearly 100% water. When the sperm meets the egg, that's almost 100% water. With each passing decade, we progressively dehydrate. And most of us do it way faster than we should. In Chinese medicine, the water element is your youth. I stole this title or borrowed it or modified it. Daniel Amen, I'll show a reference from him. His TED Talk in 2013 was entitled, What Did I Learn from 80,000 Brain Scans? Now he's done over 200,000 brain scans. But you know what he learned? We can change our brains. We can rewire our brains. Or as they classically said, when you change your mind, you literally change your mind. Your mind rewires. So what did I learn from 10,000 tests? Most people are dehydrated. Not to the point of dying, but what do I mean dehydrated? They should have most of the water inside their cell, about 2/3 inside the cell, about 1/3 out. And what RJL Systems published is the very first sign of failing health is a shift of fluid from inside the cell to outside the cell. So I've done bioimpedance for over 30 years. I actually was one of 5 authors on the standard of care document, because I actually have a degree in electrical engineering, so I know a little bit about electricity and how the body interacts with it. But most people are dehydrated. So notice that Americans are drinking bottled water. That's probably a good thing. The stuff out of the tap has every pharmaceutical and pesticide and toxin you could imagine. By the way, there's an aside study on that. I don't have it in this presentation, but there was a study about 5 years ago. They found that men that lived in areas where women took the highest level of birth control pills have the highest incidence of cancer. Wow. Now, I kid you not. So how did that happen? Women take birth control pills.
In the sewer, the water.
Yeah, exactly right. They pee out that very powerful estrogen called ethinyl estradiol. It doesn't get filtered in the drinking water, and these guys are drinking it and getting prostate cancer. I happen to think that the vast majority of prostate cancer is an estrogen problem. Certainly not a testosterone problem, right? It might be 90%. Coffee, no one should be drinking soft drinks, that's for sure. Juice, probably not as well. Breastfeeding, they have World Breastfeeding Week. They actually estimate that, look at this, if women would just breastfeed for 6 months exclusively, 823,000 deaths of children would be avoided, and over 20,000 breast cancer deaths. Nursing is good for mom and baby.
It is.
For every single 20-ounce soda that someone drinks, they will increase their biologic aging by 4.6 years. So you're going to get old fast. Alcohol consumption, again, if you drink a little, you'll live longer than someone that drinks nothing. What's a little? For a typical woman, it's 1 drink a day. If a woman has a high risk of breast cancer, it's 1 drink every 10 days. Men get by with 2 drinks a day. So I'll have plenty of my guys that like to go to the bar on the weekend. They go, okay, that gives me 7 on Friday, 7 on Saturday. I said, no, that is not the same.
That's right.
That is not the same.
That's right.
I know it averages the 2, but that's not how it goes. So there's the graph, right, the classic. People who drink a little live way longer or live some longer than people that drink nothing, but people that drink the most will die the earliest. And notice, chronic heavy drinking, DNA methylation challenge. And if you don't methylate, you can't mask the DNA, you can't repair the DNA, you can't have your ideal epigenetic expression. Very, very fascinating. Huge study on coffee, 5.2 million people, follow-up years. People who drink the most coffee live the longest. The sweet spot is 5 to 6 cups a day. And it works for a lot of different things. So here's what I tell people. If you're going to drink coffee, why not drink the best? So the company that we invested in, the world's best organic coffee in 2022, take some with you, try it. If you like it, I'm going to encourage you, put a hot water boiler in your waiting area. Your patients will like it. Here's what happened in my clinic. My son introduced me to this product 12 years ago. He says, you know, after I found out it was organic, USDA certified organic, EcoCert, kosher, halal, you name it, I thought, all right, it's a good product. I said, Jacob, I don't need anything else to do. He says, Dad, you won't have to do anything. I'll set up a water boiler in your, I'll teach your staff to offer people a cup of coffee or tea. So here's the pro tip. People come in, would you like a cup of coffee or tea while you wait? Sure. How do you like your coffee? Strong, mild, or in between? Guess what? The number one coffee in the world is espresso. If they like it espresso strong, ours pre-brewed, you put a cup, you add about an ounce of water. They're sitting back, they're drinking it. How do you like that? That's really good. It's good for you too. You should get a box. Just that simple. When I put them on a detox, healthy coffee or no coffee. Easy pitch, right? Within 10 months, we were selling 10,000 a month from the clinic. Nice little value adder.
But
yeah.
caffeine doesn't suppress the nutritional benefit like with vitamin C?
Well, caffeine does have a benefit, but not for everybody. Yeah. But here's the deal. The herb that's in there, Ganoderma, is a GABA facilitator. So if people have jitters, they don't get it with this. People that consume Ganoderma fall asleep faster, sleep deeper, longer, wake up more refreshed. It's the most alkaline food on the planet. They actually alkalize the coffee before they infuse the herb. It's anti-inflammatory by 15 different mechanisms. I mean, I like it so much I invested in the company, right? I think it's such a good idea that the whole world should be drinking it. There's their certifications, right? Clean, good, healthy product. That makes the world better. And a couple different patented processes. When it comes to Think Right, there's my buddy Daniel Amen. You can change your brain. That did say 83,000, now 200,000 brain scans. He's got 10 clinics all over the world. You can change the brain. I love this question. What if mental health and brain health were one and the same? They're not exactly the same, but you better believe they're tightly related.
That's right.
In 2009, I taught a neurology series with a neurologist from Cornell, and part of what we would teach is the brain is the most nutrient-dependent, energy-dependent, stress-vulnerable, toxin-vulnerable system in the body. You've got to manage that. And these are the brain scans. Healthy brain, obese brain. First thing I'll tell you is that when someone's obese, their brain is typically about 16 years older by the age of 50. Well, why would that be? Their life is on the back end. They're about over. Obesity accelerates the risk for just about everything. It's the number 2 risk factor for cancer besides smoking, and it shrinks your brain. And certainly we talked about diabetes, big problem there. And then we've got Alzheimer's, and by the way, they're calling Alzheimer's a type 3 diabetes of the brain. So Dr. Amen has this memory aid called Bright Minds, and there's his 12 things. Maybe we can have one of that, because I've done a brain day where I go through all of these 12 factors. But he was on a podcast, and they said, well, Dr. Amen, if you wanted to be an evil genius and you wanted to destroy brains all over the world, what would you do? He said, I would do exactly what they're doing now. I'd put kids in front of screens, blue lights, give them sugary soft drinks, all kinds of stuff like that, expose them to toxins, no exercise. And it's horrible what's happening out there. A lot of people never have a chance. The day that I made that slide, over 25,000 studies on the nutrient benefits of the brain, 27,000 for energy, 38,000 for toxins, and over 100,000 related to stress. Now, we've probably all been taught that the brain has the most blood flow at rest. That's only partially true. It's true if you consider per unit volume. The liver is much bigger than the brain. The kidneys collectively are bigger than the brain. The liver gets the most blood flow at rest, followed by the kidneys. The yellow represents heavy exercise, which I will say is fight or flight. And how many people in our population do you think are at least in some level of fight or flight?
80%.
Well, let me tell you what the literature says, and I'll give you the direct quote, and I'll show you the slide later. Many, if not all, New World primates have elevated cortisol and cortisol resistance. We're all New World primates. We don't like to think of ourselves as that, but that's what we are. And it says we all have it. And what's cortisol resistance? Far more common than insulin resistance. What do you lose when you become cortisol resistant? You don't calm down the inflammatory process. And what's the last thing you lose? Immunosuppression. So picture this, you're more inflamed, your immune system's more suppressed, your body's going to be more acid. You're setting up the perfect storm of cancer with chronic stress. And by the way, it took medicine till 2023 to finally get a definitive study that said stress is a major risk factor for cancer. Indisputably, right? Why did it take them to 2023? Most patients knew that a long, long time ago. But notice, when we're under stress, we don't detox as well. We don't think as well. And that's part of the reason why detox and a stress reset is the top of my list. It's an artist's rendering of your brain on stress, but there's the reference there. Type in that PubMed ID and you'll see the exact quote. Many, if not all, New World primates have elevated cortisol and cortisol resistance. Now, I've been doing a stress reset, a version of this, for well over 20 years. What we know is that the adrenal glands actually have melatonin receptors. And then they found out that it actually prevents the brain drive, the adrenocorticotrophin drive from the pituitary on the adrenals, so it's going to reduce the amount of cortisol that's being released in the bloodstream. The Ganoderma spores lower the amount of circulating cortisol in the bloodstream, and theanine is in the calm day. Theanine is a GABA facilitator. It naturally crosses blood-brain barrier, and it's one of the fastest ways to calm people down. And keep in mind, there's no known toxicity to melatonin. There's no known toxicity to theanine. There's no known toxicity to Ganoderma spores. I had a celebrity involved with a very bad divorce. He was going to lose something like $100 million. He was being beat up in the tabloids. And he called me one time. He said, Bob, you have my cell phone. He says, person that looks at me wrong, I'm going to punch him right in the face. I said, well, don't do that. He says, I'm losing my mind. I said, where are you? He says, I'm right outside of Whole Foods. I said, all right, here's what I need you to do. Go into Whole Foods, grab a bottle of water off the shelf, ask someone where theanine is. It's going to be by the supplements. Grab it, take 500 milligrams, walk to the checkout. If there's people in line, and there often is, right? Take another 500 milligrams, get to your car, take another 500 milligrams, give me a call. And he calls me. He says, what was in that? I said, why do you ask? He says, I feel like my old self. I said, well, that's what we were trying to accomplish, right? And just that fast, he went from wanting to punch someone's lights out to feeling, okay, I can get through this. You can take theanine every 15 minutes if you want, every 5 minutes if you want. Any one of these you can do. And when people are stressed out of their mind, they're not detoxifying, they're not eliminating, their brain ain't working right, they're not controlling the inflammatory process. This is a very high-level intervention. And it's almost always part of my starting point. Detox, stress reset, you can take that to the bank. Certainly, how you perceive things will determine your stress. There's a speaker named Ed Milet. He says most of us have a perception problem. The real life that we want is much closer to us than we know. We just need to look in the right direction and understand what's around us. And I think that's very, very true. When I taught the stress series in 2002, I talk about bond. And by the way, when I was in England, I did a road trip in England teaching a series of seminars, and I finished my book, a lot of car time. So I picked up a book called The Good Psychopath's Guide to Success. And it really got my attention. And by the way, they said there were good psychopaths and there were bad psychopaths. There were functional psychopaths and there were dysfunctional psychopaths. A good functional psychopath was James Bond. Now, how did they determine that? They took the top British Secret Service agent, show him videos of horrible atrocities, and this guy's pleasure center would light up. And he was perfectly at peace, like, yeah, this is a good thing. Well, something for him to intervene on. But could you be a good psychopath? Well, Bond is the success story there. In every chapter that you would take a psychopath test, Kelly, you'll probably be happy to know I flunked every psychopath test. I'm not a psychopath. But you could be a good functional psychopath and make the world better by stomping out bad guys. And then there's this concept of post-traumatic stress. Most of us certainly have heard that. That's a big risk for a lot of things. But it's suggested that as many people have as much post-traumatic growth as have post-traumatic stress from any given event. Classic example, the Boston Marathon bombing. My associate doctor at the time was at that event. And they heard an explosion, they knew something was going on, they got out of town. It was not that stressful, they just knew something bad happened. Whereas people that watched 6 or more hours of news coverage of that bombing had more post-traumatic stress than people were at the event. They'll magnify it, make it worse, and keep throwing it at you around the clock. Peter Attia loves exercise. My current philosophy, every joint, every range of motion, every day, pain-free, and then your body will give you a little more. Pain and fatigue are the top reasons that most people use for not exercising. And so I'm going to make a link to the SPMs real quick. But this is a very powerful article. Systemic chronic inflammation can in turn lead to several diseases that collectively represent the leading causes of disability and death around the world, like type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, depression, the 80 or 100 different autoimmune diseases, neurodegeneration, Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, sarcopenia, osteopenia, immunosenescence. All of these have systemic inflammatory process in the middle. But look at all the things they call out as the triggers, even though they call out infection, obesity, dysbiosis. They're really talking about the deadly quartet: stress, toxins, malnutrition, physical inactivity. And then we have that inflammatory process that deteriorates the body, mind, and spirit. But these SPMs put the brakes on all of that, and they actually accelerate the healing. As Jamie said, over 2,000 published studies. So one of the first major gigs that I was speaking back at, I used to teach 40 to 50 events a year. 2020, that came to a halt. 2021, huge pharmacy convention right here in Houston. They invited me to speak to 500 pharmacists about SPMs. They said, hey, we need to know about this. Yeah, you do. I think this is the most innovative and powerful advance in clinical nutrition in my 33 years of doing clinical nutrition. A researcher from Harvard, Dr. Sirhan, asked a different question. He said, I wonder if there's more to the omega-3 story than just preventing heart attack, stroke, and cancer by 13 different mechanisms. And so what he did is he took radioactive labeled omega-3 and he injected it into rabbits or rats, one or the other, maybe both. And then he'd follow it through the body. And he found the healthiest animals, when hit with the biggest insult, they would actually convert the omega-3s to a further downstream molecule, actually a series of them, and he called that category resolvins. That name came up about 5 years later. Why did they call it resolvins? Because whatever they suffered with, injury, infection, trauma, depression, it all resolved faster. Well, then he said, I wonder if humans have something similar. So then they got their human guinea pigs, injected them with the radioactive omega-3. Same story. The healthiest people made the most resolvins. Now here's where he got nominated for a Nobel Prize. If it were a drug discovery, he would have won it hands down. He said, I wonder if we can actually do that conversion in the lab. So we had a team of Harvard scientists, a 15-year project to convert the omega-3s to resolvins. They got it done, patented the process. He's rich, as you can imagine, for doing that, and good benefit for humanity, but now we have it available to us. And I use it on literally every single patient. Here's what I know. The rich want to get richer. There's plenty of people that are rich in health. I've got plenty of them in my practice. They want to do everything right. And what about those that are struggling? They really need it. But it is the bridge between injury, infection, intoxication, and recovery, and it's absolutely critical. Sleep right. You could read that, but essentially there is absolutely no substitute for sleep. They did a military study, and they took soldiers and they would give them 6 days consistently with less than 6 hours sleep. And they found out that at that point they functioned at the same level as legal drunks. So that's why I said, what a great idea. Have a bunch of legal drunks running around with high-powered weapons. Is that what we want to do? No. So we want to get these people good sleep. The shorter you sleep, the shorter your life. Very, very simply. PhD out of Stanford. I think it's about a 500-page book. I listened to the audio version. It is full of great information. A powerful quote, it's the single most effective thing that we can do to reset our brain-body health every single day. And it works in every single animal species. I love the quote that a great day starts the night before. Anders Ericsson wrote the book Peak. He studied the best of the best in multiple fields. It could be business, it could be chess masters, it could be musicians, it could be athletes. The best of the best slept 8.6 hours a night. And 3 athletic superstars, whether you're talking about Brady, LeBron, or Phelps, they all had very diligent sleep routines. Poop right at least once, preferably twice every day. Fun story, anybody read the book Freakonomics? Yeah. Right, it was a good book. It was about decision making, and this comes from Freakonomics. I found it very fascinating. They said, at 1900, life expectancy was 47.3. By 2009, it was 78.2. What in the world happened that we had such a dramatic increase in longevity?
We cleaned up the water and stopped having babies die.
That's a good part of the answer. I'll show you the rest of the answer. You're right, it was sanitation and hygiene. That was New York City in 1881. Any idea what that is in the middle of the street? 2.5 million pounds a day. So you want to read something funny. What were the predictions for where New York would be? They wrote in 1900 that New York would cease to exist because it would be buried under horse manure. I might argue that seems true even today, right? I hope I'm not offending anybody with that, But
You got some New Yorkers in the room, Bob.
hey, I love New York. I do. They just need, I'd like to see a few things change there now. Let's just put it that way. But you look at this huge drop in death rate from infectious disease. Again, 75% before antibiotics, 91% before broad spread vaccinations, and that led to longevity. So here's my question to my patients. If cleaning up the external environment led to such an increase in longevity, what will happen when we clean up the internal environment? And I'm betting the same, right? So when people are stuck, I do what I call my intense detox. If you come by and you give that truck a little push and it hits the gas, what happens? They're getting a worse problem. So if someone's toxic as heck and you start supporting detox with a few little things, they start releasing toxins, they don't have all they need to clear it, they feel worse, they go, oh, that stuff makes me feel lousy, I'm not taking that. The symptoms of chronic poisoning include fatigue, sleep disturbance, intestinal distress, allergy symptoms, headaches, confusion, anxiety, as published in the Journal of Clinical Chemistry in 1996. And when I read that article, I said, my gosh, if we got rid of those symptoms, I'd have to do something else for a living. That's what everybody's walking in my door. So I said, I'm going to detox them. I'm going to detox them. And I've been detoxing people since. Bodies respond to frequency, duration, intensity, quality, and timing of stimuli. So we've got to get them all these nutrients, right? And we get that through the Ultimate Shake. We get that through the Live Complete. We get that through the Proline Greens. We get that through the Ganoderma spores. We get that with the SPMs, the probiotics, the enzymes, the D3, K2. Yes, I do every one of them. And guess what? People still will have detox reactions. I've had people I put on a detox, and I'll tell the story of a woman. Actually, I didn't detox her first. I did a stress reset. I will tell this story. So 2021, I've lectured in Sweden a dozen times since the 90s. And one of my students referred a patient to me. Her name's Camilla Hiller. And he says, look, I've got a friend, she's not doing well. Do you do virtuals? I said, sure. So she's looking across me from the screen. I said, well, how can I help you? She says, I'm dying. And I said, well, you don't look like you're dying. She says, look, I got my hair just right. I'm wearing makeup, but I'm dying. Let me share my labs. So she shares screen. Liver enzymes elevating, kidneys are failing, body's horrifically inflamed. She's profoundly anemic. That's all the data she had. Whatever she had, it totally sucked. And I looked at her, I said, what's going on with you? She says, well, 10 years ago, I weighed 450 pounds. I did a Roux-en-Y gastric bypass. And by the way, they even screwed that up, right? They take the stomach from the size of a soccer ball, they make it the size of a tennis ball, they cut her esophagus 4 inches too short, and they give her a walnut for a stomach. She lost 250 pounds in a year. So she had been starving for 10 years. So I was seeing someone nearly starving to death. But now we have a problem. She doesn't have the apparatus to absorb nutrients. And she's sick as a dog, and she's halfway around the world. So what am I going to do? I did a stress reset. Melatonin, theanine, the Ganoderma spores every waking hour. So 4 days later, I get a WhatsApp message, we need to talk. Okay, so I Zoom with her. Are you trying to kill me? Of course not. What's going on? I feel so weak I can barely get out of bed. I'm sweating like a pig. I'm throwing up. I'm racing to the restroom. I barely have the strength to get there. I'm moving my bowels 10 times a day. I said, that's awesome. What do you mean that's awesome? Are you kidding? Do you know how full of crap you are? Do you know how miserable all your cells are? We finally pulled the plug on stress and your cells said, okay, my liver can work. My kidneys can work. By 11 days, she got her first night's sleep in over 20 years. By 14 days, she felt like she got her life back. Now she wants to educate the world about that. And by the way, then we supported the detox the rest of the way, but the first thing we had to do was get her working a little better. This is a nutrient-dependent, energy-dependent, protein-dependent process. Cytochrome P450 enzymes are proteins. 24 hours into a water fast, the activity of these enzymes drop 50% on the average. So you want to do nutrient support for detox, not a water fast. So I like 7 to 10 days of an intense detox twice a year. And again, we're going to do each of these magic formulas when people are detoxing. They'll get through it and they'll feel like $1,000,000. I even do it with my elite athletes. I have a video of Michael Bennett. I treated him. He was playing for Tampa Bay, and he had turf toe for 2 years. No one could figure it out. By doing kinesiology, we said, look, it's actually a problem with your tibialis posterior related to some imbalance in your core, which is related to the liver. Let's detox you and see what happens. Well, he had seen all 32 NFL docs, and it completely resolved in a week. But here's the thing, I put him on all organic vegetables and a detox, and he actually gained muscle that week. And you might ask, how's that possible? He was less inflamed, less stressed, less catabolic, more nourished with the micronutrients. The complete protein is there, and he bounced back epically. Very, very fun, right? Talk right. That's just not the conversation you're having among yourself or with yourself. Every cell is potentially in communication with every other cell, every moment of our existence, and all good relationships require good communication. So autocrine is the cell talking to itself, paracrine is the cell talking to its neighbor, endocrine is the broadcast message. So what I often tell people is, we have a nice room like this, and I don't see anybody sitting on anybody else's lap. And I wouldn't expect that. Why? Because we respect each other's space. When everybody was eating, they weren't reaching off of other people's plate and stealing their food, because we respect people's property as well. And certainly when we need to use the restroom, we're going to go across the hall and take care of business where we're not going to bother anybody with it. So why would I start talking through such a ridiculous set of variables? Well, cancer cells violate all that. Cancer cells don't respect your space, they're going to crowd you. They don't respect your food, they're going to eat your food, and then they're going to poop and pee all over you and make it a very horrible environment. The very first step of cancer is a loss of cell-to-cell communication. We have to optimize communication for our body to stay healthy. And finally, Hippocrates said all disease begins in the gut. He wasn't right, it's not all of it, but here's what modern science says. 90 to 95% of diseases can be traced back to the gut and to the microbiome. And so we certainly want to make sure that everybody has a healthy gut or they can't get the most out of their nutrition. So I circled the things that I use for gut health in that protocol. Often a keto diet, the proline greens, the Ganoderma spores. You could use actually X-Flame, IgG, the GI Complete, the SPMs. All of those are going to be part of the game. So what did Paul Clayton teach us? We're not living any longer once we get rid of death in childbirth. So when he published that in the Journal Royal Society of Medicine, he was basically attacked. They said, this can't be. This can't be. How can people, we've had 100 years of medical advancement, how are we not living longer? He said, here's the data, it's irrefutable. What did we learn from Blue Zones? Relationships are the key. Have good relationships, have purpose. What did we learn from Peter Attia? Epigenetics trump genetics. and even David St. Clair with lifespan, if we can take better care of ourselves, we likely will live better longer. The Magnificent Seven is a big part of that. Jamie just gave me the 5-minute call, but do we have time for a few questions?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I think what would be really fun is if you would ask the audience questions, and whoever answers correctly gets some free product.
All right.
Think about that.
All right. Very good.
You guys want free products? Yes.
All right. So I'm going to give the questions from the talk.
Perfect.
What was my number one lesson after 10,000 body composition and hydration scans? There you go. You win. You win whatever product. All right. What did Daniel Amen learn after 83,000 or 200,000 brain scans?
What are you doing? I'm seeing that every day.
Yeah?
I'm seeing dehydration every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Right. So what are you doing for dehydration? I'm thinking electrolytes. What are you...
Well, it's more, so let's go to that. So if we were to break that down in deeper detail, nutrients draw water into the cell, toxins draw water from the cell. You need to have an active sodium-potassium pump, and you need to have a healthy cell membrane. So now it's not just electrolytes, although those are important. You have to get the proteins, you need to get rid of the toxins, you need to create a healthy cell membrane, and you need to revitalize the mitochondria, and that's a complete solution for it.
So what is it?
Repeat?
Dehydration, because it's prevalent.
Yeah. So all four of those things. They got to make sure they have good, clean fluid. They've got to have a good cell membrane. That's going to be the right balance of omega-6 to omega-3, which almost nobody has. They have to have complete nutrition, which almost nobody has. They have to be free of toxins, which almost nobody is. So we got to address all of them, is what I'm saying.
The formula for this is what?
We have power fuel as a way
There's
to
our,
hydrate.
yep, there's our mitochondrial optimizer. Yep.
Cellular energy.
Very good.
Yeah.
What do you want me to say about that one?
No, I was going to say I'm having this one next.
Okay. Very good. All right.
Perfect. All right, what was...
Well, I got another question for you. 85-year study on healthy living, good life. What was the number one factor that determined people that live the best the longest? We got a lot of people that got that right. I heard that beautiful lady first. All right, it's a tie. It's a tie. All right, it's a three-way tie.
Okay. And didn't you say something about sex? Sex had something to do with it?
All right, well, let's talk about sex in the blue zones then. So what percentage of... 80%. There you go. That man was on it. I didn't even have to finish the question.
Hey now, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm liking that. 80% of 100-year-olds still having fun. All right, so ballpark figure, how many studies are there on specialized pro-resolving mediators in PubMed? I'll give you credit. 2,000 plus, probably coming up on 3. We'll give you credit on that. A lot.
Okay, give us any one of the products in Dr. Bob's Stress Reset. What?
There it is. Can I have another sparkling water? All right.
And we don't have actual spores with us tonight, but what do we have that has spores in it that's here tonight?
There it is.
That's right, the Organo coffee. Who said it? I heard it over here.
There it is.
That tells us everything. My kids are like, we're 60% water. Like, wow, I was 85. Do you remember this?
This one will be a tough question because it's a new product. Last question. So Ozempic, which is you got it? I didn't even finish the question. Yeah. Well,
can name it in one note.
It's a GLP-1 agonist. Semaglutide is the name of the product. People are losing weight in an unhealthy way, so what's the natural option to semaglutide? Nutraglutide.
There we go.
Yep. And that's going to be a home run product.
Yes. And I will say, if you do use Ozempic, or that's something that you use in your practice, Nutraglutide is a great complement after the person comes off the drug to try and maintain the balance. So whether you choose to use it or you don't, Nutraglutide is a great
The other thing, our
complement.
clients that are doing well with it, they're using lower dose, but they're also using the protein shake to maintain the lean body mass. Right?
Really
Just like if someone has bariatric surgery, you're not eating enough nutrients. Make sure they get that shake in before noon each day. They'll maintain a lot more muscle and have longer term success.
What shake?
Any of them, Ultimate Shake, Super Shake, Best Way, or Nido Keto. You're in the catalog, you'll see the macronutrient profile. We have 4 different types of shake. Any one of them will give the protein content they need. The nice thing with the Ultimate Shake, it has the vitamins, minerals, and extra liver support.
All right, so I do want to, we're not Oprah, everybody doesn't walk away with a car, but everybody is going to walk away with a prize tonight. If
Thank you so much.
In your folder, there's a nice packet of information in there, and one of the things that's in there is a 15% off our entire line special. Yeah, don't tell Jamie. It's 15% off the entire line, anything you want. Okay, for attending tonight is our thank you for taking time out to learn more, to meet some people in this community. And I would really like it if everybody would give Dr. Bob a big round